On today's episode, I interview Yoni Mazor. Yoni's the co-founder of GETIDA, an Amazon reimbursement tool that helps sellers get all the money that's deserved to them when dealing with the intricacies and the challenges that exist in running a large logistical operation into Amazon. We talk about many interesting things, but Yoni as an individual is a super interesting character, having grown a business himself to 20 million on Amazon, to rolling it up into $100 million, probably one of the first roll-ups of its time, to pivoting and how he decided to go all in on GETIDA with his co-founder and team and building a solution based on necessity. I hope you enjoy. Hi, and welcome to Successful Scales, the show where I interview now successful professionals about their journey and try and garner insights onto any tips that can be applied to your business at home. Whether it's financial freedom or the exit of your company, wherever your journey may take you, the idea here is to simply learn from those who have done it before. I hope you enjoy and you get some value out of this. Buckle up and enjoy the episode. Yoni, it is such a pleasure for you to, I know how busy your schedule is, so thank you so much for jumping on and taking the time out of your day to sit and share a little bit of wisdom with those listening in on, how they can help effectively scale their business. But well, firstly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. I can probably say this is the first time I'm being interviewed by a Yoni. So it feels great.
I know, man. I said to you before, we spoke on your show. It's really nice to be able to invert it and put you in the hot seat because you're definitely going to have more wisdom than I did. So excited to go through it, my friend.
All subjective. I believe everybody has their own authentic story. One story is not like the other. There's no better or worse. It's just you gotta. From interviewing all these guests that I have, I truly enjoy the authenticity and just the different angle of each story. And I love it all, like my children. It's all like the same for me. It's like I give it all love. It's all different characters, different routes, but yeah, it's good vibes all around.
Love it, love it. Well, I mean, the idea of today's show is really about how do we help people kind of aspiring to be or are in successful businesses and to kind of go through that learning. And I mean, we've spoken plenty of times now. I feel like I see you every other day now with Clubhouse and everything that's going on. But for those of you who don't know the other Yanni in the room here today, I'd love you just share a little bit about your story.
You got it. So currently I am the co-founder and COO of a company called GETIDA.com or GetIDA.com. In my past, I used to sell on Amazon, and both businesses are kind of connected. One business led to another. Here selling on Amazon and selling on FBA gave birth to the company that we have today. And essentially what we are, we're a technology company, and our claim to fame is our ability to help Amazon sellers get the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to get. And we're very customizable. So even if you have somebody in your house, in your own team doing it for you, we're able to come in and get you more, anything that you're kind of missing out. So we're the largest organization in the world today dedicated to Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. We have a global team of about 40 plus members. A large part of our team are ex-Amazon employees who used to work in the FBA reimbursement departments. But GETIDA started in about 2015, almost 6 years ago. And when it started to answer our own needs as Amazon sellers. We started selling on Amazon around 2013, and we quickly grew the business from 0 to 20 million. Then we become a part of a larger group that together as a group, we did about 100 million. And we need to constantly audit the transactions that are coming in from FBA and to kind of find anything that has a discrepancy. Maybe some of the units or inventory got lost, damaged, destroyed, disappeared, disposed, got overcharged with all these fees. We had so much data, so we had to be technology, but also a dedicated team to work together just to focus on this element, just this problem. And we did it for ourselves. And because it worked so well, our friends from the industry kind of told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that was the early genesis of GETIDA. So essentially, ultimately, we cashed out a retail position. We focused just on GETIDA. So in my e-commerce experience, you can say that, I had experience as a successful retailer, seller, but also now and more the technology and services solutions and having a taste of that as well. Just to give perspective and context on what we are, what we do, and the mindset.
Super, super helpful. And I mean, it just further validates why it's so great to have you on the show, having gone through, so many evolutions. You've sold on Amazon, you've done extremely well. I mean, to hit, just for anyone listening out, like, it is no small feat to hit 20 million on Amazon, let alone when we're talking about at the time in which you did it. I mean, you entered in FBA rolls out, and then you guys are doing 100 million. I mean, back then, I feel like that's equivalent to $1 billion Amazon business today. It's
According to inflation, maybe.
yeah,
but
yeah. But I'm
but
talking in terms of the speed to market and to get to those numbers. Like, those are not numbers you heard back in 2014, 15. It's not common. So you should be obviously
yeah, just
proud.
to touch on the mindset of those days. Actually, we started selling online around 2010 on eBay, and eBay was kind of the big thing, and Amazon was 2013 was kind of up and coming. So when I was kind of telling people 2013, 14, even 15 that I'm kind of doing business with Amazon, they all like looked at me like, okay, poor thing, but we're doing tens of millions of dollars. I wasn't like, trying to, I was just keeping it low. It was like almost like a gold mine, it's like, it was very fertile ground. Every inventory that we put into the platform was just being bought. Like there's a crazy maniac on the streets, just buys everything that moves.
What were you
Just
what, what were you
endless
selling?
appetite. It was like endless appetite. We became like a little department store, like a Macy's. We're selling watches, jewelry, sunglasses, apparel, shoes. We started for watches, and then we kind of opened up into jewelry, kind of natural progression, and then we're able to source sunglasses, and then underwears and apparel, and it just became, it became like a department store, right? And tens of thousands of SKUs, lots of logistics, lots of headaches. But as we were able to uh, um, uh, bang our head into the wall and challenge ourselves and get ourselves outside of our comfort zone and face the challenge and face it successfully, it added another layer of skill and confidence towards the next challenge and the next challenge. So it was kind of always very quickly, though. It's hyper dynamic. It comes very quickly. Always challenges, always bumps, always hits, always scratches. But somehow, we're always able to patch it up, learn from it, and add another layer, and just keep on booming and scaling. I guess looking back, I do give the credit to the fact that the market was so virgin and so open. Today, it's much more of a competitive landscape. Uh, but looking back, I kind of learned that we were maybe an exception to the landscape. It wasn't a common thing for everybody to open an Amazon business and hit those numbers, so quickly and so effectively, keep on growing and scaling. Yeah, there is an element of that being. I don't want to say unicorn. That's more reserved to the billion-dollar valuation companies these days. But for the Amazon landscape, yeah, we were in the upper echelons. You might say that, yeah, the top 100, the top 200.
Definitely. I mean, it's extremely impressive. Super also interesting journey, from where I'm sitting right now. You're an Amazon seller, you've had massive success, not to build it up too much, but it's really impressive. And you've now kind of, there's obviously a fork in the road that comes in your career, right? You've built this understanding, and I wrote it down. You talked about your team and your product or your technology. And I think that that's two fundamentals when we talk about kind of scaling a business. For us, we look at systems as your process, technology, and your systems, process, technology. And I've forgotten on my own show what I'm trying to communicate here. But the point I'm making
No,
is,
let me help you with this, because
yeah,
essentially what's interesting with our story,
process.
yeah, the fact that we created a process to a problem ultimately paved the way for us to spin off a different business that took us to the next league. We didn't plan it. It was natural progression, evolution, but just comes to show you the power and effect of and really trying to create great solutions along the way for your business. You create a really good solution, and you create a process to help you scale. And obviously, if you scale, you're good to go. Mission accomplished. For us, we got lucky that actually the momentum was so huge for us because the market was telling us help us, so it spun off its own company. But let's think about this for a second. So, when you ship your products to FBA, the fulfillment centers, let's give a basic simple example that I always use. I ship 1,000 units. Amazon, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they're receiving only 990 units. Right? This is the entry level thing that most sellers, FBA sellers, are aware of, and they look out for. I sent 1,000 units. Let's see how much they received. That's the entry level. But most sellers are not aware, but we were very aware from the early beginning that once the units are inside the Amazon fulfillment centers, you always got to keep track of what's going on, the life cycle of the product. Because inside the warehouse, your units could get lost, damaged, destroyed, disappeared. Also between the warehouses, sometimes Amazon will shift your units from Kentucky to California, California to Nevada, whatever it is. You got to track it from Amazon's fulfillment center to the consumers. As the orders come in, you got to track it, right? Things happen there. Also from the consumers back to Amazon, also known as refunds, returns, things happen from Amazon back to you if you do a removal order. So all these these exchanges and transactions we were aware of. So we're constantly monitoring it, and we're monitoring it through spreadsheets. So once you do $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, you kind of get by. Well, but some, at the moment where it's like a few million and there's so many transactions coming in, it just breaks the spreadsheets. We're not able to keep auditing for these discrepancies, and we always constantly found discrepancies. Just to give a high level statistics, we found out that the discrepancy rate ranges between 1% to 3% from your annual FBA sales. So if you do $1 million a year, it can be $10,000 to $30,000. If you do $20 million, it's between $200,000 to $600,000. So we couldn't stop auditing. We can say, oh, the spreadsheets break, we got to stop. We can't. We're not going to split our work to like 100 spreadsheets. So it pushed us to develop technology. We had no other choice. That was the natural progression. But it takes time. It takes money. You break your head. Where do I start? We never really built technology, but now we have to do it. So we did that. We faced the challenge and we embraced it, and we created the technology. And along with it, we already realized that once it's ready, we're going to have a dedicated team to keep punching it out because we keep on growing. If we don't want this business to relax, we want to keep growing. So as we keep growing, it's going to be more and more transactions coming in that we're going to have to audit for and take care of it. Because once the data is there, you have to open the cases and manage all the back and forth with Amazon. Some cases are easy; it can be a few hours until resolved, but some can be a few days, weeks, months, even rare cases more than a year. So we needed a dedicated team. But once again, high level, we're faced with the challenge. It was more technologically involved, but also involving the need to constantly grind on this problem and dedicate resources constantly to face it. It was worth it for us because I said, our levels were, 1% to 3%. It was 200 to 600,000 on our department, but the entire infrastructure was about 100 million. So that's 1 to 3 million a year. It made sense. So it always has to connect to numbers. The numbers made sense. It was totally worth it for us to develop technology and team. But luckily enough, unintentionally, once we opened this up, we would share with our friends, telling them that we have these abilities. They were the missed opportunity knocking on the door, told us, help us, we'll pay you. Oh, they'll pay us. There's a business opportunity here. So for a few years, it grew organically like that until, the rest is kind of history where we pivoted. We say we have two successful businesses. Retail, we know what to do, how to do. We can just come back to that. That's like our diploma, right? That's our comfort zone. But this solution, we have the opportunity to help so many other businesses scale and grow. And retrieve money they never dreamed that belongs to them. It's pretty much money back from the dead. So we took a leap of faith. We focused just on that instead of focusing on two businesses, and it made all the difference in the world. All of our talent, our focus, our creativity, our motivation, our energy just went into this platform and this business. And thank God, within a matter of a few years, we were able to take leadership position on this niche, on this space. Just a great example of face the challenge, embrace it. You do it so you can keep scaling. Listen, if you do it in a way that's extraordinary, it might even pave the way for you to have another business or another success story. So you never know.
Absolutely. I think that's really helpful to kind of look at the journey and that decision-making process, which I'll have a question in a second. But I want to use a quote that my mate Sumo has told me a couple of times now. So if you're listening, mate, this one's for you. But I think what you really described here is that necessity is the mother of invention. And what you've stumbled upon then, whether it's accidental or not, is you've really come into the game and said, what, we can support our business and make a fundamental change to make sure that we're actually maximizing all the hard work that I'm certain you guys were doing to get there. And now you're helping so many other people, and you've kind of made that transition. My question for you though is, was it a tough decision to, I obviously don't know exactly what the parameters were, but was it a tough decision for you to kind of walk away from all that you'd known in getting to this, this bigger, well, effectively probably one of the early stage roll-ups, I would guess. That's how you maybe define yourself there, to transitioning all the way to focusing on GETIDA or GETIDA?
Yeah, so great question. It touches the nerve because it was a very difficult decision to pivot and just cash out of one position and focus on the next one, because it's so addicting. the game of e-commerce retailing, it's so addicting. Once you hit the spot and you see those sales coming in and it just ferocious, it keeps on growing. Listen, it's very exciting. A lot of adrenaline for us, at least, since like almost day one. So there isn't a level of addiction to that craziness. We were afraid that we're gonna kind of miss it, but so that's what I'm saying. We actually took a leap of faith. When we cashed out of retail and focused just on the technology and services. But luckily enough, because of that passion that we have for retail, we actually channel that passion into our users and our community. Because what we do now is focus a lot on just helping them grow through free consulting. If because we face all these challenges and all these milestones. If you're a seller trying to pivot and scale from 100,000 a year to a million a year, or 1 million to 10 a year, we've been there. So we can share with you from any of our experiences. It could be logistics, it could be finance, it could be suspensions, whatever it is that we kind of, if we can help you ourselves for free, we'll do it. If we can, we can at least direct you where to go to trusted, players in the industry that will help you keep on scaling. In the sense that we have a vast network of, partners that we're very proud, to be, a part of, including Scala and Multiply.me. And because, it's just an exciting journey for us to help, the rest of the community grow, the sellers. So we still pretty much feel that we're connected to the game, to the industry, to the growth momentum, but in a different way. It's more like almost like a father and the children. We were the child. We're we're growing up in our elementary, mid-high, middle school, and then high school, and in college we graduated, so to speak. And now all these children are, that we cater to, we help, we support, because we kind of pivoted into the world of solutions, and we channel a lot of that motivation, energy through our experience, but also heavily supporting financially educational events for sellers. It could be seller summits, virtual summits, physical summits, anything that helps sellers educate, learn, and grow. We strongly support it. So we try to almost sponsor every seller event under the sun. That's worth mentioning as part of that strategy. So it stems from our passion, but also stems from our understanding that this is our key to growth as well. And why? Because our revenue is connected to the revenue of the sellers. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna sneeze. And I put on mute just to save a sound effect. But yeah, experience.
It would have been extra flavor to the episode.
And I muted it to spare the audiences. But essentially, we recognize that our revenue is connected to the revenue of our sellers. And why? Because with GETIDA, we don't charge any subscription. We don't charge a monthly fee. You can cancel the service at any time. We only charge a fee from the recovery. So only if we're successful in getting your money back from the dead, only then we're going to charge a 25% fee. So let's say we got you $100 that wasn't available before, 25% would be $25. So high level, right? If you're $1 million seller and we can recover to you on a yearly basis, $10,000 to $30,000, right? That's kind of the discrepancy rate. But now I'm going to invest into you. I'm going to invest into all these seller events, and you're going to attend them. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. And next year you're going to do $2 million. Now our opportunity is to recover 20 to 60,000. In a sense, so the more we identify that our revenue is attached to their revenue, we're partners in a very unique way. We're very bullish on seller education, seller scale, seller growth, and that could reconnect us back to the game, but from a different landscape, different point of view, more paternal, but nevertheless even more exciting, because now we're looking at the billions. We audit billions of dollars worth of transactions every day for our networks. So in a way, we kind of scaled, and this is something we kind of try to help sustain and also keep growing and pushing it up the needle on a different level and scale and packaging, but definitely still feel like we're in the heart of things.
Yeah, listen, I think that's also why I feel, probably a deeper connection, other than the fact that we share the same name and have like weirdly mixed similar roots as well. But at your core as a business, it's to help empower people in recovering money, and there is no money down. Like, we also don't do long-term lock-in contracts with anything that we do as well, because the idea is that if you're not going to add value, then if we can't add value, just like you guys, then we don't want to work with you because we're not the right fit. And I think that you've just built the model in such a beautiful way where only if you can have positive impact into a seller's life will it actually pay off for both of you. So I think that
purely performance based. We have to prove ourselves every single day, because if we were zero, we get zero. So let's say you're a client user. I got you $100 this month, so you pay us $25, but next month I got you zero. But nevertheless, I spend time, not me, but the whole team and the technology to try to, fix things for you. And we got you $0. You pay $0. Purely performance based. So our guarantee is always like, we're really going to do the maximum. That's our guarantee. Because if we don't do the maximum, we're going to get nothing. So yeah, it's a unique position.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big advocator. I'm grateful to have you on the show and getting the message out there. So that's awesome. But while we're focused on the topic of scales, and we're not scales that weights, but really scaling businesses. You've been through this. Yeah, you've been through this journey now multiple times, right? You've pivoted. You've been through it. I'd just love to get a bit of your insight into some of maybe the key challenges. Like, you're starting off, you're trying to figure things out. Like, what are some of the things for you that if someone had told you early on, hey, maybe you should reconsider, or maybe don't go down this path? Like, is there anything that really hits home for you?
Nothing that hits home, and I can say that I regret. Let's put it this way. I'm not the regretting kind. I do, in a very strange way. Maybe that's kind of the DNA needed for this industry. I expect things to be hard. I expect it to be challenging. I embrace it, and I see every minus, every hit is an opportunity to flip it to positive. Truly, and we found it to be a key for success in our industry. Maybe other industries is different. So early days, right, of e-commerce, we were shipping stuff to FBA. Everything was so scrappy. But as we realized, okay, we were selling so quickly, we got to ship quicker or buy quicker. Everything had to scale. The funding had to scale, right? The logistics had to scale. The system that we're using, which we had no systems, so we need systems, right? So embracing new technology, new platforms, all these things, like a whole rainbow of things that we had to make ourselves comfortable with, even though every change is moving away from your comfort zone. So that was something that was constantly there, and we never had the spirit of, I wish somebody would have told me differently. It's like we made all the possible mistakes, all the possible wrong turns, but once we made them, we knew our way in the maze, how to get to the cheese, right? Time and again.
Yep.
And every time the cheese was able to,
I love your analogies. I love.
and every time the cheese was getting larger and larger and larger, every time we went through that maze, and that is kind of the experience there. So hopefully it's helpful. Just the fact that in the mindset that you're willing to embrace the hit, the challenge, or that alone will hopefully be a very, very major key for you to keep scaling at every step of the way.
Well, you actually touched on many really important points there. And I think the one that you ended off there is about mindset. It's not like someone wakes up one day and they're successful. Part of the experience is to go through those learnings, and there's no lessons better learned than the ones you learn for yourself. And so going through that journey and having the mindset of staying positive, I don't come into work and every day is perfect. Every other day there's another little spot fire. And, for lesser people who aren't built for this stuff, it might break you. And I think that that's one of the things that you also need to be aware of, is that you can't be, firstly, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's not your life. It doesn't define who
Not a
you.
hobby. I always say it's not a hobby. You gotta. That's a good point, actually. I want to touch that, if I may.
With pleasure. You're the guest,
Yeah,
my friend.
very, very quickly we realized that it's not a hobby. At the early beginnings, like, actually, to be fair, even eBay we took it very seriously. I think that helped us a lot. It was never a lifestyle business. It was never really it did start Amazon more of a side hustle for a new platform. The same way today, maybe somebody's gonna be trying Etsy or Walmart or Alibaba, whatever it is. So you kind of do it as a side hustle, but your main business is still e-commerce. Yeah, I always kind of say this. This is definitely not a platform or an industry or a space for amateurs. Really, every day, I think, the stakes are getting higher. You got to treat yourself as your profession, as your professional job, and you're pro. The more you have the mindset of, I'm going to be a professional at this, pro, you're probably going to win. If you open this as a side hustle, as a lifestyle business, and you did well for yourself in the early beginning, congratulations. But most likely, I'm not sure it's going to be sustainable, because there's much hungrier people behind you that are going to keep chewing you away some way, somehow. And some way you're going to feel the decline, or something's going to happen where if you're not going to all of a sudden make the switch, say, okay, that's it. No more playing games. I'm in this. I'm going to resolve this. I'm going to embrace this issue. And then you fix it and you scale, you're probably going to fade away. And we see that. A lot of the faces that we There were hot shots in the 2015, 16, 17 zone and era. Faded out. Why? Because it was kind of a side hustle for them. It wasn't like, that's it, I'm in, this is mine. They're doing also maybe real estate, or maybe a little bit investing in the financial market, whatever it is. So they had a little bit of an upswing with the e-commerce. But the moment things hit the fan, I don't want to use curse words here.
You can.
Yeah. When the manure hit the fan, I'm like, you know what? Let me cash out. Let me get out of here.
You are just too nice a guy, mate. You're actually bringing the name Yoni up right now, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this G-rated, with general public.
Yeah, I literally just got off a live session with Ping Pong, and I said, "Can I swear here?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's not censored." So I was
Good.
I threw an F-bomb in there, but it was context.
Full disclosure, in close circles, I swear, and I can't help myself. When I posture out, I try to keep it as clean as possible, because I don't know, just to keep it. I don't know what it is. Maybe
keep it kosher.
I got this wrong. PBS, I always have like public broadcasting services. That's like keep it kosher.
Yeah.
I have that kind of mindset. Yeah.
So you talked you've spoken about a lot of interesting points. So I just want to unpack a few of them. You touched on just now specifically around the side hustle versus being all in, and I think it's a really important thing as well. A lot of what I preach is fail to plan to fail. And so I think that when we talk about mindset and we talk about a side hustle, if you're just, and I'd actually equate this to dating as well, until I met my fiance, I went about it as if like, I just talk to girls every so often, dating apps, whatever. And I didn't give it the same focus and attention that I did with business professionally. And as soon as I switched that mindset and I went all in, I said, you know what, I want this. It was probably a few months later that, that I found my fiance.
But how did your relationship grow? Think about it. When you made the switch, that this is serious, it's not a little hobby or side hustle. How you take that point until we are now? How much did it grow? Probably tremendously. That is the magic of growth. Yeah, the commitment is the magic of growth. If you're committed, you'll grow. If you're semi-committed, you'll semi-grow or just fade away. It's almost like mathematical.
I think that actually 100% be, some sort of problem statement that's solved on the back end of that. Yeah, equation. Right. That's a better framework. So, okay, so we talked about mindset. You also talked about building systems, which I think is also a really core fundamental. And I just wanted to ask, when you approached starting to implement these systems, I mean, a lot of what GETIDA is, like you said, started on the baseline of spreadsheets, and then had to very quickly scale up to being a platform. Like, what was and you're a team of 40 plus now, and you work all across the US, or globally rather. What was your kind of beginning stages of starting to document or get that process into the ether of everything that is GETIDA?
Yeah, it's actually good. It's an interesting spot. I don't think I ever addressed it publicly, but we were very lucky early on to have in our retail team a lot of our logistics and fulfillment team members were actually software developers. So we're lucky in a multitude of layers, because we're able to adopt new software to, let's say we use ShipStation to ship self-fulfilled orders, or we adopted Techometrics. I always give it to their favor. That Techometrics today is not the original version. When Techometrics first came to the world of e-commerce, they had a platform called FBA Insight, which helps you create shipments, ship your product to FBA, track profitability, repricing, all that stuff. Tremendous. It will open up our eyes, all the data that flow in, and we're able to see the profitability in real time. It was a game changer. We're really able to scale. So our team was able to adopt that as well, because they had some background, and they were willing to embrace new technologies and their solutions. Today, Techometrics is they faded that amazing system away, which still leaves me shocked. But because they had the larger vision and recognizing that advertising is going to be a major key, and now they're at the top of the game of advertising in the e-commerce space. I think they're number 4 in the most important company in e-commerce by e-commerce Marketplace Pulse, I think it's called, the chart over there. But in any case, so we were lucky on our ability to absorb new softwares. But with the moment we kind of needed to develop software, right, for the auditing, we said, hey guys, this is how we do it manually, right? Check this out. We gave them a sneak peek on what can we do to start building a program that can start automating parts of it, all of it, whatever it is, So, okay, what can we first automate? This function and this function and this function. So that created the mold and the builder for the solution. Obviously, what we have today is not even close to what we had back then. It was an early prototype, but that's, it's small bites and small bites. Obviously you eat a whole loaf of bread, a massive one, hopefully, that keeps feeding you and nourishing you.
Put some of that cheese on it.
Yeah, and that once you hit the maze, you have to you connect it with the cheese. That's pretty much the whole game, connecting bread to the cheese.
I love it.
But so
So,
yeah, that was the early days of the software creation of GETIDA. Yeah, so it's a good point. You just reminded me of that. Forgot about
yeah.
that.
So where did the mustard start getting in there? Was that once you really started to get it a little bit more hardcore in the development? So you took the systems early on, right? You had them in Excels. You probably started, if I had to guess, you probably built a few macros and then resulted in pivot tables that then you started to automate the buttons. And before you knew it, you're like, you know what, we can develop this shit. And you went down that path. Was that
Yeah, the
was that
team actually
organic?
said, yeah, so the team was like, we had to make the decision between MySQL or JavaScript, stuff like that, and they were dabbling around. Like, what's the amount of data? What's how complex is the algorithm, the calculation, or the methods, and what will be the best software? Actually, early on we found out the hybrid was kind of good enough because MySQL will, the data sets there might be good for this kind of calculation, where JavaScript is a bit more appropriate for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a hybrid early on. I know all about this because I actually was involved to, the building of the stuff, of the I guess 1.0, if you like, or the beta back then. But today, to be fair, I'm a bit more far removed because our CEO, my co-founder, Max Bourne, he's really at the heart of the product, the development, where I am more focused on facing out, into the world, and more of the content creation, the marketing, the value, understanding, the awareness. We put a huge focus on awareness because kind of a high level, 50-50, the world of e-commerce sellers are 50-50. 50% of the sellers are not even aware that they're eligible to get money, that anything is even wrong. So it's a major mission for us to raise the awareness, even if they don't use us. But the fact that they know about it and they make more money because of it, mission accomplished. The other half is aware of it. They kind of do something about it, but they don't know they have the opportunity to get more and much more. So, and we find a lot of opportunities in both parts of the pie. Pie for dessert, right? If you have the bread, the cheese, we got the pie. Um, but yeah, so today I'm much more removed from the actual technology of it, and my partner Max is doing a tremendous job. His ability to scale and think long term and create like the next thing, and the 3.0, the 4.0 is tremendous. It always gets me excited. So we have a good dynamic there. So that's also maybe something maybe we should consider discussing and mentioning is
I'd love you to dig
partnership.
into that. Yeah,
Yeah,
go.
partnership. So I was very, so we were partners. We were already partners since 2013, like 8 years in the mix. We're in retail, and now we're in software and solutions for for e-commerce sellers. Um, yeah, I was privileged to have the partnership element. We always complement each other. It's things I'm more, I'm more what's it called? A more competency level is higher than his. I'll take the charge of that, and vice versa. If something he's more competent about, so we're always able to complement each other, and we always have the ability to balance things. That helped a lot. I'll be fair. It wasn't like all me sitting down like a tsar, like a royal highness, and everything kind of worked out. It was really a team effort. So if you are doing this with a partner, you probably hopefully experiencing this ability to grow together. And if you're doing it solo all alone, you should be able to keep doing it alone as long as you open up to hiring talent that can offset your disadvantages, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't really do alone. Think about like if you connect it to the world of physicality, you can understand it a little bit better. If you want to open a restaurant and you want to make it big, okay, maybe when you opened it, you can be the host, you can be the cook, you can be everything, right? Because might have 3 tables, you might do okay. But if you want to have 300 tables, you're not gonna be able to do everything alone. You're probably gonna hire a host, hire a cook, hire somebody on the cashier, hire bus boys, whatever it is. Same thing works with e-commerce, because there's a little bit of illusion going on with e-commerce, because with the e-commerce sellers, if you're selling on Amazon, you might say, I know how to do customer service, I know how to create lists, I know how to do all that stuff. Same way somebody opens a restaurant, they know how to be a receptionist, and they know how to cook, and they know everything. But you can't really do everything to scale at large. You just can't. So, and also you might find that if you hire somebody that is better than you in creating product listings and images, you'll do tremendously better. If you hire somebody that's much better than you in managing the spend, you'll do much better. All this, so it's like a puzzle. You always then you become you can change your mindset to more of a coach of a team. You're not gonna be able to, if you're playing soccer or football, there's 11 positions on the court, on the field, on the pitch, right? You're not gonna be able to play them all. It's a team sport, right? But if you're in the coach's position, you're gonna be able to decide who's the goalie, who's the defense, who's the offense. So think a bit more like that. Try to build your team, your all-star team, hire them, and obviously try to get the best goalkeeper, the best defense, whatever it is. Try to get the best. Focus on getting the best talents, or people hopefully smarter and more talented than you, in the components they need to serve. Not in general life. Some people have tremendous ego, say nobody can be smarter than me, period, in anything. Don't think like that. Let them be smarter than you in all these departments. But on a high level, you are the visionary. You are the godfather of your company, your business, right? You own it. You really do on paper. All the profits or losses will go under your tax return in your name. So if you are all alone, try to build your business through that aspect. If you're in partnership, both of you will be the coaches, because sometimes you have teams where you have a coach and you have the assistant coach or general manager, whatever it is. So there's more people at the leadership position, but they usually grow into major things. Usually when you have very large successful teams like Barcelona, you have the coach, but you have like the GMs, they're legendary. Some teams, when you have like top leadership, they're consistent over time. They keep on winning and playing in the highest levels. So I'm borrowing a lot of ideas and a lot of
Right.
things from a lot of places.
I love all of your analogies. You really, you hit the nail on the head in all of them. So just
Yeah, I'm
to,
trying to simplify, just to make it more palatable for whoever is listening to relate. The more you relate, you understand what it aligns you. It keeps you on the right path to continue your growth and success story.
absolutely. So now that I can just undo all of your fantastic work that you've just done, breaking it down to simplicity, I agree with you 100%. One, leave your ego at the door. That's our philosophy. Two, the minute that you think you have everything figured out is the minute that you fail in life in general. No one's an expert at everything, and there is no such thing as perfection. And at the end of the day, we're all humans. So it's how can we continue, as you pointed out before, how can we continue to grow and evolve and become the people that we want to be? As long as we're better than yesterday, then that's really kind of the driving motivation. But I think just, when you talked about you and your partner and the complementary skill sets, I think that definitely with partners and in all aspects, whether you're the goalie or, I'm not a soccer guy. I'm an Australian rules football guy. So you're going to lose me at the analogy.
You can use your own. Do it for the Aussies, by all means.
Yeah.
Do your own analogy.
So whether you're the ruckman or you're the forward pocket or you're the center half forward, doesn't really matter. The idea is that you want to find the best player that sits in that specific role. And it's all about that complementary skill set. So if you can bring someone in, like you said, and hire them and they are better at a skill set that you don't pertain, then you go and do that. Like I'm a big believer in, I'm sitting here and I'm a pretty good operator for where I sit, but I'm not a good operator. And so where I sit is the high level vision, and I can bring a lot of things together. And like you, I'm the outward facing position in our business, and I'm trying to do all the work to help, this whole
Raise the awareness. You want to raise the awareness of the possibilities.
And add the value, like successful scales, what we're doing right now. How can we help people who are going through the same struggles that we're going through day in, day out? How can we help them learn any one thing to support? And so I play that role. Whereas, Lippy and Joan, who are my co-founder and founding team, my COO, they can do shit that in my wildest dreams, I couldn't do it. I'd never be able to execute on a level even close to either of them. And as a result, we create this real perfect harmony of each of us playing into our skill sets, and each of us get exponentially better week on week, month on month, year on year. And, I think like the advice is, you have to have a general understanding, but you're never going to be the best at everything. So lean into those things that you are best at and really heighten those skill sets. And it's not about forgetting, like, I can't just throw my hands up and say, you know what, I'm really shit at following process, so I'm not going to do any of it. That's not right. You got to lead by example. But what I would say is there are areas that you are inherently going to be better at, just the way you're wired, whatever your personality type is. And so I think leaning into it and being the best goalie you can be, or the best umpire you can be, or referee in the US. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I think those are really hard-hitting, valuable points.
Yeah, I want to add to that. It was well put, by the way. The thing is, even if you truly are the best player at every position, because you're an all-star, you might be able to play the game, a few cycles. but you're eventually going to burn out. So think long term. So get as closest as possible to the talent that you feel comfortable with. Put them in that position if you really want to survive long term, because you can have a tremendous successful year in e-commerce, maybe 2, but you might find yourself burn out. I've seen this. They burn out because they really were all the key positions, and they refuse to really put somebody else instead, and they're just burned out, completely burned out. They're even depressed. Why? Because they got so committed, because they scaled, they succeeded. So instead of working 4 hours a day, you're working 40 hours a day. Like as much as they can give you, you can, because you're in every single position, every single element. So it just consumes you. So you made a lot of money for a year or 2, but you can't really do anything. You can't even go on vacation. Understand? Because it consumes you
It's
so
not
so much.
living. It's not
It's
living.
not living, right? So it loses like the purpose, and then you burn out. And then, well, the third year you will go to zero because you stop whatever, or you dipped, or you're
I mean,
declining.
who
If you had a
who gives a
Mhm.
shit if you make $300,000 a year if you're working, 120-hour weeks every week, week in, week out? Like that's not it's
And
not
you're always
sustainable.
worried, you're always connected, yeah, because you want to take maybe a little vacation, or you want to attend family, whatever it is. You're not so consumed mentally by this whole environment, because you're doing, you look one person doing a work of 12 or 15 people. You'll see these humans, tremendous multitaskers, like amazing talent, but you're gonna burn out. It's gonna affect you, and nobody is above humanity, really. You might do a year, even 2. So I salute you. But if you invested that year or 2 to keep growing, but also putting the right people under your team, you have year 3, 4, 5, 6, and you really will be able to enjoy this long term. And the vehicle, this amazing machine that you're creating to generate money, which is selling on e-commerce, will be yours for over time. It's like you're getting a Mercedes. You want to burn it out, and after a few, because you're using all the fuel and just making all the crazy spins, you never take it to a repair shop, or ever you letting any other professionals work on it, and then you lose the whole Mercedes beautiful thing that you spend all this fortune on, and you got all the pleasure, but it burns out. It can't sustain over time.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And on that note, it's a perfect segue, just knowing that you're a busy guy and so am I, and we're coming to the end of our show. I wish we could do this for another 5 hours, man. I'm loving every second of this. I think I just love the way you break down points, and I think it's just so digestible and easy to kind of put in context as to what people are trying to understand. So I thank you for that. I'd love just a few more questions, and then I'll let you be on your way.
Take your time.
So, I mean, for anyone listening out today, what's one word of advice that you might give them in terms of their aspirations and how they're looking to grow themselves, their business, their position in a company, whatever it is? What would be a piece of advice that you think anyone listening out might hold dear and add value?
I'm gonna give you one that it's a bit closer to where you were from, right? Australia. I'm gonna go a little bit to that area. It's actually from Japan. It's called Kaizen. One word, Kaizen. Google it, right? So Kaizen essentially, this is kind of the heart and center of the Japanese industry. The Toyota made is probably the best success story that was born from Kaizen. So Kaizen essentially means incremental improvement over time. That's how you achieve long-term success. So every day a little bit more, every day a little bit more, incremental, improvements over time. So whatever step you do to improve your advertising, a little bit every day of that, a little bit every day of creating the next product or improving your next product, whatever it is, incremental. You don't try to bite it one, or like one big bite and just swallow it and it's all going to work out. Think long term. Every day do a little bit more to improve yourself, and then from all the myriad of things that you're going to have to take care of, there's not one single thing that'll be the only thing. Something is only the ad spend, something is only the right picking the right product, something is some people think it's only having the right influencer. These all okay, but if you have a healthy ecosystem, right, you're gonna grow over time. And the word Kaizen, look it up. Incremental improvement over time. For this specific industry of e-commerce, I think it's tremendous uh, um, um, component or strategy that can be implemented to achieve great success that is sustainable.
Love it. Love it. That is great advice. And while we're throwing out Japanese terminology, and I feel like we went through that once before, you and I absolutely loved it then, and I love it now. And I think that that's definitely at the forefront, is that you're not going to wake up being a professional in anything. It's the work that you put in, like when people look at you and say, congratulations, you've started a business or you've gone through it. And like, I remember and all that stuff. the day you start to be an entrepreneur or you start a business, that's not the day that you started your work. You know, your career, every moment leading up to that is that incremental improvement that's seen you get to where you are. So I think that, you know, the journey to being a business owner or growing your business, you know, it starts from the start. It starts from your education as a human professionally as you grow through it. And the term that I wanted to throw out to you was actually one that my chief technical and innovation officer shared with me, and it's called Ikigai. And are you familiar with that term?
No, I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm absorbing now like a sponge. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ikigai.
so Ikigai, and I loved it. It's effectively, as I understand it, hopefully I don't butcher this, but as I understand it, it's about finding your true purpose, the thing that is really, you know, in perfect harmony with what your objectives are in life. So whether that's, you know, in commercially, you find that the business resonates with what you're doing, and that becomes your true driving purpose. So yeah, lots to learn from those super intelligent Japanese, but yeah, just
I
reminded
love
me
that.
of
Yeah, the
that.
passion is something I definitely think we kind of overlooked in this episode, but I'm glad you, in the last touch of things, you touched that. Yeah, purpose and mission, hugely important, because as long as it's always in front of you and you're comfortable with it, that's gonna actually fix all the other things that behind it. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah. Yep. Another thing
Sweet.
to Google.
Yeah, yeah.
So before I let you go, for anyone listening out, how can they get in touch with you if they want to leverage Getida to get them some money back? What's the best way to connect?
If, I'll start with Getida and then I'll talk about myself. It's pretty simple. Getidea.com, getida.com, getidea.com. You land on the page. There's a button there called free sign up. It's free to join. It takes maybe a few moments and your account will be all set. And we'll be able to go 18 months and recover any reimbursements or money that you're available to you that was simply being left behind. So that's pretty simple. If you want to reach out to me personally, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So Yoni Mazor, which is Yoni, something same way your name is
Yeah.
spelled.
Yeah.
Last name is Mazor, Mazor, Mama Alpha Zebra Oscar Robert Mazor. I'm also available on Facebook, but you can also email me directly if anybody wants to really get into the zone. So it's Yoni M, so Yoni M at getida.com.
Nice, mate. Well, I'm sure, I hope a few people get in touch because like I said, what you guys are up to is awesome. And, you know, I can't sing your praises enough. And the more people I can connect you to just means the more people that can save money on what is rightfully theirs. So big believer in what you're up to. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time out of your day. And mate, just happy to have you spill all this wisdom on us.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you and hanging out. I hope to see you physically as soon as possible when the pandemic kind of ends. But to all the audience, really, I wish you all tremendous continued success. Just work hard, push hard, do a little bit every day. Ikigai and Kaizen, look it up. And hopefully you'll have continued success and a good spirit about it.
Love it. Thanks a lot, mate.